Good day, everybody. We're back again. I'm Marle and got Jasmin and Shannon. And
Hi.
I think,
Hi.
first of all, we'll just go do a quick introduction again. And I think this time we'll start with Jasmin.
Hi, everybody. So I'm Jasmin Sturm, and I'm a naturopath as well as an SCHH practitioner. And I live in north of Auckland in New Zealand. Yeah, and
Beautiful.
I don't know, are we telling our websites or we'll put it
Yeah,
in the
you
link
can.
below?
Yes.
So anyway, my Instagram is Soul Alchemy with Jasmin, and my website is walkwithnaturopath.co.nz. Yeah, that's
Very
me.
good. Good. And I'm Shannon, and I live in Australia, and on the Sunshine Coast here. And my website is www.wisehealer.love. And I'm an SCHH and QHHT practitioner, hypnosis practitioner, and just studying naturopathy as a student still. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
and I'm Marle and I'm with innerhealingwithmarle.com. And all these details will be in our description on this channel. And I'm a nurse and I've been in the, um, well, shall we call healing industries for all my life. And this time around, we're going to discuss anxiety and fear. And so this time around, we're going to have a look at all of that and have some ways to curb all of this emotion. And so, first of all, I think it's only fair enough for us to go into a bit of the old biology, being a nurse and all of that. So I thought I made a few notes. And so basically, our body's got autonomic nervous system. And that means that it's an unconscious thing that we don't really recognize or know what's happening, but it's happening, right? And coming from Africa, I always have to talk about the lion. So if the lion jumps out of you, out of the bushes and trying to catch you, that's your sympathetic nervous system kicking in. So that's your fight and flight. So at this stage, what you need is very fast legs, a very clever brain to escape, and definitely no time for digestion and, toilet stops and breathing. So, and for that whole scenario, that will make sure that your heart pumps faster, you're breathing a bit faster, your eyes can see really well, and your muscles contract really well. So, in that sense, the hormones that go along with that is your adrenaline, your cortisone, and all that stress hormones. Now, that is fine if all of these things run around your body for a short period, because I guess the lion won't be chasing you for 10 years straight. So, hopefully, your body can then relax and go into the parasympathetic system. Now, examples of your, some, sympathetic system, your fight and flight system working too hard for too long. Well, if we just look at times of exams, for example, when we studied really hard and we're really worried about the specific exam, I know many people, including myself, would spend quality time on the loo. Now, that's just one way of our body to sort of work. With all that stress. So if we do this for long term, it can cause health issues. And there's many health issues that can happen because of all this hormones and the stress and anxiety in your body. Now, long term, it can definitely affect your mental health as well. So, being SCHH practitioners, we're all about physical body health and also emotional and mental health. Now, with our parasympathetic system, that is basically, they call it the rest and digest or the feed and breed time. So, for obvious reasons, most of our blood in our body needs to circulate around our digestive tract and also our ovaries and all those lovely things to be able to produce and for our gut to digest our food properly. So that's all the good hormones like dopamine and serotonin and all these lovely things. Now, in this time when we relax, we might be hanging on the couch, having a social event. Our heart rate is going down, our breathing's going down and, you know, digesting the food in our muscles. We don't need our muscles to run around. So in that sense, that's your basic biology and what we're looking at. So these two systems work in opposites of each other. So if the one is in action, the other one's getting suppressed and vice versa. And just for interest's sake, we've got a third system called our intrinsic nervous system. And that's our enteric nervous system, or your second brain. That's basically like your gut. So we won't necessarily be focusing on this one. I just want to basically make people aware of the two basics ones, especially how all of the stress can affect your body. So there we go. So
I love that, Marle. That was excellent.
It's a really good thing that people don't necessarily grasp, and especially in the time in biology in school that we bunked or didn't study that part. So
that was excellent, an excellent explanation. Enjoyed that. Thank you, Marle.
Yeah, so I was just thinking that maybe we can give people some ideas of, you know, if any of you have had any, you know, experience of such fear and anxiety, and how did it feel? What did you do? So, Shannon, what do you think?
Sure. I look at, you know, when I think about panic attacks and anxiety, I know that one of the things is breathing. And then when we're in a sense of fear, we do shallow breathing, a lot of shallow breathing. And that's why, that's a big reason why people end up having the panic attack from anxiety, is because they're not getting enough oxygen to all of the cells of their body. And they're doing a lot of really shallow breathing. And a friend of mine had a panic attack for the first time. And that's what the ambulance, the paramedics had told her that's what had happened, because she was feeling anxious and that the oxygen, basically why that happens is the oxygen isn't getting to all of the limbs. And so I find for myself, the breathing is just a really good one for me. Even before, if I'm nervous about something, I sit there and, you know, take a lot of deep breaths. With that sort of thing really helps. And I also suggest it to hypnosis clients, because I find before sessions, if people have entity attachments and that sort of thing, I find that the symptoms can be worse right before hypnosis session. I think the entities know that their time is up, and they make sometimes the anxiety and that worse for clients. And so I get that a lot, that clients are emailing me and saying that they're feeling especially anxious sometimes right before a client, and I'll email them and say, that's probably entities like making you feel that, like try and push through it and come to the session and that sort of thing, and telling them that the entities know that their time is up, basically. So they're trying to like make the symptoms worse for them, and then just giving them some ideas like breathing, taking deep breaths and things like that, or whatever. And I know you mentioned about breathing. You know a bit about that too, right, Jasmin? About the breathing.
Yeah, well, I've had personal history. I don't know if I actually shared it with you guys, that I started getting panic attacks when I was around 20. I was really overwhelmed with my life. My mum had moved away and I was feeling a bit displaced. And I had quite a few, like having to get off a bus once. I had a lot of like claustrophobia, a lot of fear. And I have had to work really hard to overcome that. And a lot of people would say I'm a different person now than I was then. They can't imagine what I was like 20 or 30 years ago. And I was like that as a young mum too, like really always freaking out about everything. And I learned about breathing. I actually went to a physio years ago, and it's a Kiwi physio who wrote a book called Hyperventilation Syndrome. And he taught me about breathing, and I do it with all my clients. I mean, I suggest it to everyone, because I just say, well, can you take a deep breath? And they just going, and they're just breathing here. And I think partly we're also trained to not breathe properly for my generation, I'm not sure if they do it nowadays, but holding your stomach in. So you're always holding your stomach in, and then you're not breathing with your with your whole belly and things like that. So yeah, I think breathing is so important, and also having a good sleep is so important, because that's when our body restores and rejuvenates and we process our emotions. And I find a lot of people, well, I guess it goes back to the quick fix thing, because I had a health shop for 8 years, and it was such an interesting experience, because I just saw a broad range of people then. It wasn't, my demographic or young or anything. It was so many people came in and they weren't sleeping, and they're like, can you give me a pill? I just want a pill, or a supplement, or they'll take this and that, and they'll take a whole lot of things. And it's like I'd start saying to them, because this was just over the counter, and it taught me a lot, because it was like, well, actually, you need to implement lifestyle changes. You need to cut back your coffee, and you need to do your breathing, and you need to take time out of yourself, all those things. And yeah, some people were just not ready at that point, I guess, because when you're in that flight and fight, you can't think straight anyway, can you? It's like you just, oh, I've got to get the exam done. And I know that shift work is a big thing for that too, for nurses and other people who do shift work. It's really hard their whole body clock's out of balance, because that's those hormones again, the melatonin and cortisol.
Shift work is terrible. I've worked shift work for a very long time, like 15 years. And your body does not know when to go to the toilet. Your body does not know when to sleep, when to do anything. You have terrible brain fog. You're constantly exhausted. There's a low level anxiety running through you all the time. Your body's made to sleep at certain time. I've realized then that your body and your mind needs a rhythm. It needs habits, and the habits of when to eat, when to sleep, when to relax, when to work, when to think, so it's definitely a big thing. And people don't realize how much their bodies appreciate for them to take care of themselves. And coming back to that breathing, in the health industry, I worked. So working in the health industry, I worked in a recovery unit for many years. And one of the big things that we did in the hospital is when people woke up, so they coming out of the anesthetic, and so they get very disorientated, and we always focus on the breathing. And I specifically said to them, now slow down, take a nice deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, and I'll just walk them through that just to calm down and really gather themselves. And it works really well. And another thing is that I've been taught for years is take a deep breath in for 4 counts, hold it for 4 counts, out for 4 counts, and hold it for 4 counts.
Very good.
And it's definitely trying to breathe through it all.
Yeah. You know how you were talking about the sleep thing? What I was saying was, when you were talking about the sleep thing, I've always been able to sleep really well. And even as a flight attendant, when sometimes I was getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning or starting a flight at midnight, a 16-hour flight at midnight to China or something like that.
Wow.
I've always been pretty good at, a lot of the flight attendants took sleeping pills, but I managed to, not take those and be able to, with the shift work with that as well. But the first time I actually experienced not being able to sleep well was during 2020 and 2021. I had never experienced, I've always been fine at sleeping. And I found that when I actually tried to go to bed early, I was waking up a few hours later with this all these thoughts in my head and this this deep feelings in my gut of not feeling great. And what it did to me was make me not want to go to bed early, because I kept waking up, and I found, well, if I go to bed later when I'm more tired, I won't wake up in the middle of the night stressed out about, worried about my kid's future and all these things. And so that's what was happening with me with the sleep thing. But I got through it, and And, some things happened and then I was fine again. Processing that fear and coming out the other side. And I feel like the fear that happened during that time, with that narrative, they did such a good job, whoever orchestrated this whole thing, of creating fear on both sides, with the fear of the people who were afraid of getting sick, and then trading their happy to give away their freedom for safety. And then there was those of us who were more afraid of our freedom being taken away. And I had no fear about getting sick at all. Like, my husband even went to the grocery store, dear us, and when they had security, right, at the grocery store, and because we weren't afraid of getting sick or anything, my husband's like, I've got to go there and I'm going to like put my hands all over everything.
Naughty.
So he's like, they have the bars like separating the cashiers, and he's gone in. There's a security guard at the end of the cashier, and he's like put his hands all over the bar, and he's like leaning against it and stuff. And the security guard is like, I wouldn't be doing that. And my husband's like, why not? Just having a little fun with the security guard or whatever. But yeah, they did such a good job orchestrating fear on both sides, whoever designed that. It was definitely a crazy time. But I think that at the same time, it, allowed a lot of us to learn bravery, who were on our side of worrying about losing our freedoms, and that it taught me to be brave. And we did like 4 flights to Tasmania and back, and our family of 5 were the only ones that wearing masks. I walked past about 30 police officers in the Brisbane airport. They all stared at us. None of us wore masks, and a couple of them kind of leaned forward, but I just went in going, I'm protected, and I feel protected and guided by source light, and we're going to be fine. And we were the only ones at Hobart Airport. Looking around, not anyone else wasn't wearing masks or anything. And we went there and back twice with the 4 flights and everything without wearing masks. And it just it created this bravery, I guess, inside me. And I was so proud of my kids for being brave and as well. So there are definitely some good things that come out of the fear as well, for teaching us different lessons.
That goes back to a book that had a big impact on me when I was young, and it was called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And I really, it was 30 years ago probably, and it really helped me. It just taught me something I didn't know, because the thing is, we've been brought up and programmed, for want of a better word, but to operate in a certain fashion, and to change who we are and look at it, think of things differently. We have to, it's a step-by-step process, really, isn't it? And for me, it's taught me to be brave, actually, to feel the fear and do it anyway. And I guess, like, with having had anxiety for so long, I realized, well, I can't remember how that was resolved in those days. But I had a lot of counseling over the years. And I remember one lady saying, it might come back, anxiety. And then at first I was really I was a bit like, oh, and I realized, okay, well, it's like a lifestyle change. We have to actually work at our life all the time. And it's given me such strength in how to manage situations, show up, I guess, and be there and help other people. And that's what I love about this work that we're doing, that because a lot of people do have anxiety and stress, and that's what's driving them to change and to find answers and to come and have some hypnotherapy, because it's like, how can I resolve this anxiety, or, understand myself more?
Yeah. I love that you guys we have this like science background too, like with the nursing and the naturopathy. And then so we have that understanding with Marle, your explanation in the beginning with the nervous system and our systems and that. And then we also have the spiritual side with the
Yes.
hypnosis and the emotional side. So it's really lovely.
I want to put something else in there just because of the psychology and I think the medical background. So we had this hierarchy of needs that Maslow done. I don't know if you guys know it. So it's this pyramid, and the pyramid stands at the base, and it goes obviously up. And the base of the pyramid is your physiological needs, and then going up is your safety, belonging and need. Belonging and love, or your need to belong, esteem, your cognitive, aesthetic, so beautiful things, and then going higher into self-actualization and transcendence. So basically what I'm saying is, if we live in fear and anxiety, we are purely focused on the basic stuff, aren't we? Because that's our lower emotions. And these lower emotions, it's basically your security, isn't it? So if we can ensure that we, first of all, eat right, nutritious foods, getting enough sleep, and taking breaths, and just working on our physiological, like, place, and that is all the lifestyle changes. So that's definitely trying to lose weight, eating correctly, cutting out all the processed foods, trying your best to eat fresh. I keep telling my children, eat like the rainbow, and not rainbow sweeties. I'm talking about rainbow fruits and vegetables, things with color, that's not in packaging. And so that's our basic thing that we can focus on. If we can't focus on anything else and feeling so anxious and full of fear, try and fix that, so your body's got the best possible way of trying to deal with all of this. And we all know that eating healthy can definitely improve our health. And in my work that I'm in now, I said before that I work in gastroenterology. So we do get a few people coming through with sort of vague abdominal issues. So they've got bloating, and they've got irritable bowel, and they've had diarrhea for 6 months, and things just aren't right. So they come and have procedures, and a lot of times we can't find anything. So in that sense, I always think, yes, okay, have you looked at and the medical system, we're not great at holistic. So have you looked at your anxiety levels, at your stress levels? Have you looked at your lifestyle factors? How can you improve these things? And so that brings all of that together.
Yeah,
that's when I get
brilliant.
people coming, and I noticed it with the health shop. People who'd never looked into health, or you know what I mean, health to me, alternative health and supplements or whatever, and they'd come in because they'd been in, and there was no answer. It was like the results said everything's fine, and it's a great opportunity though for people to start searching for what else
Yes.
can it be. And I'm really pleased, Marle, that's what you're telling people in your world like that, because I know some people don't get told anything. You've heard of people coming in and they're like, or talking to me, and they like, well, I didn't get told to change my diet, or I didn't get told anything.
We so I say it's a fine line, because people don't really want to hear, oh, you seriously overweight, your BMI is this, and and so I know one of our doctors, he's very big in he wants to really advise people with their diets, and he's a strong believer in keto diet. So that is basically processed food out, all starch and sugar out. So people have had some great success in reversing diabetes and losing weight. Now, I think that's a really, really good start. It is a bit hard to sustain such a strict diet. Some people do really well in it, but I think there's always a balance in everything. But I definitely feel like sugar and starches, and by that I mean muffins, chippies, cakes, bread, pasta, rice, those things we should not eat a lot of. So Yeah, that's and then I just wanted to add the next level of all of this also is people's perception, right? So if you believe that your life is going to end, you're going to die of some disease, your children have no future, and that is truly what you believe, you will end up getting in that state where you are almost paralyzed. And in that sense, you know, you have to, well, almost reprogram yourself, don't you? You have to start to change your mind and to change your viewpoint and to change the things around you that make you feel that way. So if you're in a job or relationship or in a place, well, you'll have to change a few things, and you have to be courageous and strong, and you have to trust. And I know it's hard, but sometimes life puts you in situations like this. And we were talking before about your life's purpose and your soul contracts. So sometimes you just have to be brave and change all of that. And that's part of the way of handling your fear and anxiety.
Yeah, definitely. I have something to add to that. That's good that you brought that up. My friend was telling me about this book in 2020 about this man. I made some notes so I don't mess up, but it's called Man's Search for Meaning. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It was written in 1946 by this man named Viktor E. Frankl. And he was actually in a Nazi concentration camp during World War II. And he talks about this psychotherapeutic method that he used in this concentration camp to find purpose and meaning while he was going through that. And it's kind of related to what you were just saying, Marle. And so he created this method called logotherapy, which is about basically the search for life's meaning as being the main motivational force for humans and basically what keeps us going in life. And so it's just, when my friend told me about that, with everything going on in 2021, with all the fear going around, I thought, what a great book. Like, if this man can find meaning and purpose being in this situation where he's being starved and he's basically, possibly thinking his life is over, or his family's as well, and to be able to come out of that and find purpose, it really helped me during that time, because I thought, if this man can do it, we'll be fine, and all this stuff. So I just wanted to mention that book for anyone who is struggling. Maybe that book might be a good read as well. So, yeah.
And the other thing is just putting in gratitude there, gratitude journals, getting up every morning and thinking, deciding that you'll be happy and you're going to see the positive things, looking at everything that is working in your life instead of looking at what is not working. And surrendering to, to, if you call God or source or a higher power.
Yeah, gratitude's a really good point, because they say when you are practicing gratitude that you can't be in a like a pessimistic or a more negative
mindset
feeling. Mindset. Yes. Thank you, Jasmin. When you're practicing gratitude, you're happier and more joyful, or whatever.
I was just laughing. My mother said to me that whistling, if you whistle, you can't think about anything else. But that is if you can whistle. I'm not very good.
Yeah.
I used to ride horses a lot.
Yes.
And I used to teach people how to ride it. And if little kids were on there and they were getting nervous, I used to say, now whistle or hum or sing, because that also takes that, the stress out of it. Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
I just wanted to add in a lot of it too for people with anxiety and stress is overthinking. And it's like what Shannon was saying before with when you weren't sleeping. And that's when we get that monkey mind, which keeps distracting us. And there's so many ways of looking at that. I mean, it can be entities, it can be negative self-talk, which can come from those sort of things. And there's definitely lots of remedies that you can take to help. But I was just going to point out a couple of things, which was, I live in a beautiful rural setting, and when we first moved here and I was feeling stressed, and I was thinking about how beautiful it was to live in nature, and I would go for a walk, and I would focus on the colors, the sounds, the smells, and just like look at all the shades of green, and what does the sun feel like on my skin, or the breeze, or yeah, and just like lying on the grass and really listening to the birds and all of that. And I think that takes us back to the present moment, doesn't it? It's like we get so distracted all the time. And I have to say, I do like listening to things when I'm outside with my phone or videos and stuff, but it's like, no, you actually need to be present and listen to nature and be in the moment, and be present, because everything is so geared up with all the social media and noise and busyness that we need to go back to the present moment, and the seasons, and like you were saying, Marle, with the body clock and that. And I quite like living off grid. We live off grid because I actually, and I guess when you don't have little children, you can sort of get up with, or go to bed with or you can with them as well, with the seasons, you're just more in tune with nature. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
And I was just going to mention about living in the now, and and nature. Yeah, and definitely another big thing is to connect with something that you love and something that brings you joy. So hobbies, and if you like to be around animals and nature, or art, or like we had this discussion before, Jasmin, about bringing your mojo back, and
Yes.
grounding into the stuff that you used to love when you were a child.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And it's also keeping one foot in front of the other. I think just trying not to let yourself be stagnant, and making that makes the situation worse. Is just, you got to keep putting one foot in front of the other, even if it's, like you said, finding a hobby or something, or connecting with nature. Just do something, and then that will open up more opportunities for people who have anxiety, or in fear, or even depressed. Just keep moving in any way that you can.
And then you might meet your tribe. Connecting with like-minded people definitely helps. That definitely kept me going. And that also means, like, what do you call it? Dead wood. Removing those that's not part of your tribe. That's very important.
Yeah, that's true too.
And getting off your phones and social media, not listening to the mainstream media, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I also feel, though, that like learning who you are, knowing yourself, not being afraid to look at those parts of yourself, which might be seeking therapy, or it might be going to a healer, a hands-on healer, or there's just so many around nowadays. And that's why I'd bought the book out, because I'd remember. So one of the books I found really helpful for me was The Highly Sensitive Person. And that really just talks about how when you're different and sensitive, how it says how to thrive when the world overwhelms you. Because I think people are overwhelmed too. And I think when people can find out that it's actually okay to be an introvert, and it's okay to say no, and then that can help you let go of this anxiety and stress, which can often be around like creating boundaries for people. The boundaries books are really good too, because I think we're not taught to. Well, maybe women aren't, maybe some people, we're not taught how to create healthy boundaries. I wasn't anyway. And I think I see that with a lot of people, that we don't know where our stuff ends and their stuff is, or to say no, Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm still learning about boundaries. I feel like every new life experience that we do, it creates a new learning opportunity even to learn more about boundaries as we go. And Jasmin, did you want to tell everyone about your course on here? Because actually, like when it's actually related, you know, it would be really good to mention, I think, in this video,
Okay.
if you want to share with us.
Yeah,
it's beautiful what you're doing.
Thank you, Shannon. So I wrote a course in 2020, a 4-week online course. I'd actually interviewed a lot of my clients who were women in their 40s and 50s and asked them, what does it mean to not have your mojo? And all around what a mojo was, what it looks like, what it feels like, what they would, you know, all those sort of questions. And then so I wrote a 4-week course, and I've got 4 videos. They're all about 10 to 15 minutes long, and they take you through this program of how to reclaim your mojo. And yeah, and then there's a workbook which is about 60 pages, and it's got a process, and it's actually through my life experience as well, how I wrote it, because it's simple, and it's step by step, and it's like what did you do when you, because a lot of women actually, I found, and you would have too, both of you, that when you've had children, or when your kids have left home, or any sort of transitional period happens in your life, that often you forget who you are. And often, like when mothers have children, then they're like, they don't make themselves a priority. Or then their kids leave home and they're like, well, I'm lonely, I'm lost, I don't know who I am. So it's about reclaiming that simply and step by step, you know, like some of the things we've been talking about today. And so I'm going to relaunch it soon. I have got it on my website at the moment, but yeah. So it's self-directed.
I'm going to put it on my website too, a link on my website for Jasmin as well, because I just think it's so good.
Thank you.
I think it's going to be amazing, and I think anyone can do it. Like it can relate to really anyone, and it would be really great. I'm really excited for your course, because I think it's going to help a lot of people.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just think that also with the anxiety and stuff, is people just need to get back to basics. And one of the biggest things is if you have got a friend, or I had this friend, or still have this friend, she was a bit more of a I wouldn't call atheist, but she wasn't quite sure what she believed in or not. And that's really hard in times like these, because if you're just thinking everything's going up in smoke and there's nothing really left and everything, you know, and this is really true for people just awakening, right? That it's a mess, like I'm in it alone, there's nothing anymore. So grounding into your spiritual or whatever you believe in, really, and connecting for us to source, and having your rituals and affirmations and your prayers, and it's very important to bring back that trust and that belief, and the knowing that you are supported and loved, and this is just a process, and for you to learn as much as you can through all of that. And that could be daily meditations. You can do a lot of visualization work, and there was a lot of experiments done, and especially sports athletes as well, where they do a lot of visualization techniques, and they lie on their beds with eyes closed. For example, if you're playing tennis, they'll just practice those tennis moves in their minds over and over and over. It's like a muscle memory that you build up. And in that sense, you can reprogram yourself in a more of a positive state and frame of mind like that too, through visualization. And that's what we use too with hypnosis.
Yeah, I think that the logotherapy in that book with that man that I just told you about too, he uses that. That's part of his method as well, with the visualization, and then visualizing the outcome. Apparently that's what he did.
Yeah, and manifesting. That's part of the thing we're doing. We open up the possibilities for things to actually come to the positive, instead of this dark and gloomy stuff that we lie awake at night imagining it will happen, you know?
Yeah. And before I was saying about to you guys, no, you go ahead, Jasmin.
No, you go.
You go. No, you go. It's all
Oh,
good.
I was just going to say, you know, what really kept me going in the last few years with the astrology, with knowing that there was a good thing ahead, that we're moving into the new age, the Aquarian age, um, and I feel, and I'm just interested to know if you ladies are the same, that we sort of there was a switch, there was an energetic switch where
Yeah.
where I started focusing on, okay, I have to create the future. All of that's what you were just mentioning.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think 2022 is about that too. And the master number 22 is the master builder and about creating as well. And what I found is that people because so many people are in this fight or flight mode in 2020 and 2021, and that shallow breathing, and that a lot of people didn't have time to process emotions and things that they were even going through. There wasn't time for it because people were like, what's going to happen next? And what are they going to, create next? What scenario? And everyone had to kind of stay on their toes a little bit with and to be able to deal with what was coming next. And I think that 2022 also created all of a sudden all these emotions that weren't dealt with in 2020 and 2021 in people. And I know for myself, all of a sudden there was that point where for a lot of us that fear finally left, and that it became more, we started to think about more of the positives about creating this life, and that's what we need to do. But I think also there has been in 2022 this processing of emotions that people have had to process from the last couple of years that they didn't have time to process from being in that mode of fear. And then also with creation, and then also moving into the future, if we want things to change, it's that creation and creating the life that we want. If we want to, like you have done, Jasmin, and you're living off grid, if we want to create this certain lifestyle, we just have to go and create it. And you know what I mean? So yeah.
We do, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And surrounding ourselves with the right people and the right things.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, finding your tribe makes such a difference. I feel for the people who feel so isolated still. You meet people and they're suddenly, or I've seen people in another group recently and they're like, oh, they're finally finding people. They've sort of hibernated for 2 years, and are finally coming out. But I guess because if you're online, you connect with people more, or maybe we've searched more, and found our tribe, because I've found meeting people online has been such sustenance. I mean, I've got lots of awake friends here, but it's awesome meeting our tribe, Tribe.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Tribe. My tribe. Yeah, I agree. And one of the other things I wanted to mention was just about emotions being a gift to us humans, and fear, even though it seems so negative. And it's one of those, there's a place for all emotions, both positive and negative. It's that whole yin and yang thing, and the opposite thing. Like, can we feel real happiness without sadness? Or, like we were saying before about fear creating bravery and that sort of thing. So definitely think that us humans on this planet, we have been given that gift of emotions, and it's, emotions are a beautiful thing that we can express and are able to express. So, yeah.
Yeah, and another little thing that Jasmin said before about how we constantly growing, and you also, Shannon, is like, this is a constant thing. We're going to keep going through this. It's not a sudden pill that will fix us now and forever. This is a constant process of getting to know ourselves, to learn to deal with more emotions coming up, because it's constantly happening, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I do feel that with SCHH, like, I know it's shifted a lot of stuff in me, just having had the sessions that I've had, but just seeing it with clients, like, for example, one lady who she didn't really want to necessarily focus on it, but she did have a lot of chest issues. She'd said palpitation. She'd been checked out totally. And then when we went on the journey, she actually ended up at her mother's car accident. Her mother had died, I can't remember how many years ago, a couple of decades. And so we ended up working through that, and she had closure. And it was amazing because she said to me a few weeks or a month or two later that she hadn't had that heartache since. So I feel there's that other realm there's so much more that can be released and viewed and looked
Yes.
at, and that's bravery too. You have to be brave to delve into that, but it's
Yeah,
actually,
and to work with it.
yeah, it's such a safe space though, I feel, having our
Absolutely. And there's
beautiful,
so much generational fear and trauma that comes out in every session. So
yeah.
we deal with it in pretty much every hypnosis session, don't we?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and people are very nervous about the damage that we can cause, and tell them they can, I don't know, the old school thing about eating an onion under hypnosis and stuff, but it's not like that at all.
No.
So I think most people, it's a subconscious and way of looking at why you're feeling like you do, and issues you've got, and just looking at your shadow side, if you'd call it that, just bringing in more light.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And having an entity, like I was re-listening to my second or third session, and what came through was that because I'd released this entity that was holding me back, that I could actually be more, like I could connect more with my higher self, something else could come through. And it was because of that release of the entity. And, people are saying that their entities are going more easily at the moment because of maybe the shift, the energetic shift with the vibrations. So if they're wanting to go, let's, create an opportunity to take them, to help them.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before we go, I just wanted to tell our audience about some Bach flower remedies, if that's okay, for fear, just quickly. So some of the ones, I'm just going to mention the Bach flower remedy. There are a whole range of Australian ones and from other countries as well. But the Bach flower remedies have a whole section just on fear. And so there's rock rose, mimulus. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
No, that's right.
That one, cherry plum, aspen, and red chestnut. So one of them has a different aspect of what they're good for in different situations of fear. Rock rose, extremely acute state of fear, terror, and panic. Mimulus, fear of unknown causes like illness, death, flying, the dark, or things like being afraid of spiders, that sort of thing. Cherry plum, fear of losing control or sudden outbursts of rage. These are just a few keywords, but they definitely are more expansive and can help with other things. But just to show you the difference between, there's so many different types of fear and so many reasons why people are afraid. Aspen is good for fears and worries of unknown origin, or if you're feeling very anxious, it's very good, or for people who have that real trembling, anxious feeling. There's red chestnut, which is good for people who are afraid of the concern and welfare of others. These are for people who are fretful and worry about other people's problems. So you can see there's so many different reasons why people create fear. It's not always just about them. Sometimes people can be afraid for others as well. And then the rescue remedy, which is really good from the Bach flower remedies, but that one's really good for incidences that are acute. So if someone's been in a car accident, or it might be good for someone to have in their their purse or their handbag. For people who do have anxiety attacks, panic attacks, it can be good for that. And those sort of things. So that includes rock rose, cherry plum, impatiens, clematis, and the Star of Bethlehem. And of course, there's a whole range of other ones, but I just wanted to mention those ones today.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Jasmin, you've worked with flower essences for years, haven't you, as well?
Yeah,
You
and
probably know more
well, I just
in
mentioned
depth of
one.
different ones.
I just mentioned
Because
one.
I'm more of a newbie, you know.
Yeah, but you're amazing. There's one called white chestnut, which is for
Oh
thoughts that go
yeah,
round and round in your head, and I took that once when I was studying actually, and to help me sleep. So that's a really good one.
yeah, I have that one here too, and it says repetitive thought that go round and round that don't amount to anything or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was my study sheet for my exam. So I just put like some keywords on each one of them, studying when I had my exam for those. Yeah. So anyway, very good.
It's so good that there's all these other alternative options though, like flower essences, essential oils, and
Yeah,
That's right.
homeopathy
Crystals,
and crystals.
exactly.
meditations,
Yeah.
healing modalities like
Yeah.
SCHH.
Yeah,
Sound healing.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, sound
Awesome.
healing.
And
Mm.
grounding.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's
yeah,
awesome.
very good.
Thank you, ladies. That was lovely. I
Thank
hope
you.
our audience found some insight into this. And we'll be back.
We'll be back.